Go.
Okay, Digi-Egg cards, we're starting off with the EX2 Digimon, which gives us the draw power whenever we use a 2-cost option or more. We're always constantly looking to play plugins and whatnot with that, and we get to draw cards off of it is really what we really need when it comes to the Digi-Egg. Now let's go into our rookies. Let's talk about the brand new Renamon right here, which gives you the on play. This one is just incredibly good now because you can find so many different pieces. You can search for your options, you can search for Rika and anything up your Digivolution line as you go for it. And then with a new line of inherited effects where if you use a 2 or more cost option card, you get to give one of your opponent's Digimon security -1 until the end of their turn, which we're going to see a lot as we go through the newer cards as well. Continuing to focus on our Renamon with searching, we're just constantly trying to find pieces and options and plugins again and again, which is why I'm also playing 4 copies of the BT10 version, which lets you search for the top 4, grabbing yourself a plugin and a yellow tamer, which is Rika in this deck, which is going to be really important. Aside from that, with its inheritable, it gives you the DP reduction when you use an option that is 2 costs or more as well, which is really effective as you rack it up for removal. Then playing 4 copies of the older Renamon from EX2. This one gives you the on play to search for your pieces, grabbing Rika and anything as you Digivolve up your stack. Aside from that, this is actually the one that you want to Digivolve mostly in the back because you get to gain the memory off of it when you use a 2 cost or more option as well. Speaking of which, if this is your favorite deck to play, make sure to get your very own copy of the Fox Blossom playmat on the AVAULT store right now. Details will be left in the description and in the pinned comments down below, and I greatly appreciate the support. That's it for the rookies. Let's talk about our level 4s, where brand new Sakuyamon from BT17. Like I mentioned, being able to play Rika is really important, and you get to play this for free if you don't have one upon Digivolving. Aside from that, that's the whole reason why you want to see these cards as much as possible. And then with its inheritable, just like the new Renamon, giving security -1 when you use your 2 cost options or plugins, which is always fantastic. Then for the older Sakuyamon, playing 4 copies of the EX2. Like I mentioned once again, finding plugins. This one when Digivolving, searches top 3, grabs one of them and then bottom decks the rest. You need to find it, which is really crucial for your combos, which I'll talk about more and show you guys later on. But aside from that, with its inheritable, you get to DP reduce with it when you use 2 cost options as well. Again, effectively great for removal. Then to round off for the level 4s, playing 1 copy of Yokomon, which itself is also still treated as a Sakuyamon, but to give yourself blocker to itself or to any other Digimon that you like on the board as well when you play it or Digivolve, and as well with inheritable, just like the others we've just seen earlier, continue to DP reduce when you use 2 cost options. That's it for level 4s. Let's talk about level 5s, where we got 4 copies of the brand new BT17 Talmon. This itself has barrier, which is great for early chip damage if you need to go into your opponent's security or trade so that you can protect it from battle effectively. It has a when Digivolving effect, which lets you use a option card with plugin in its name, or that is yellow, but you get to reduce the cost by 2. However, you still have to meet the color requirements, but that is why Rika is really important, because having a tamer, all your plugin options that you're going to be using effectively get to forgo the color requirements off of it. And then now it's got a whole new inherited effect, which is similar to its when Digivolving effect, which is when attacking, as long as it has Sakuyamon in its name, so they can further use your plugin options. You can use yellow options and continue to reduce them for 2, which is really good. Then for the other Talmon, I'm still playing 2 copies of the older EX2 one. Simply when Digivolving, you get to play a Rika with no requirements whatsoever, so you can continue to rack multiple of them, which is really, really important for this deck. And aside from that, continue to DP reduce when you use your option cards is going to continue to really, really rack up for great removal. Then playing 2 copies of Domon, which itself is also treated as Talmon at the end of the day. On play or when Digivolving, you get to bounce the 6000 DP or less opponent's Digimon back to hand. As you rack up more DP reduction, you can bounce even larger bodies. And speaking of DP reduction, that's exactly what the inherited does as well for the deck. That's it for all the level 5s. Let's talk about the level 6s. Of course, the main new Sakuyamon right here, and I'm playing 4 copies of this card. For 3 costs as you Digivolve, you can also Digivolve for 1 cost on top of maid mode, so you can switch between the modes altogether, which is kind of fancy, and go for really cool combos. Itself has barrier, which is the same concept, really great for attacking the security, ensuring that you're survive, which is really important. But mainly now with its when Digivolving, you get to DP reduce your opponent's Digimon, one of them by 6000 DP, and then you get to use a 5 cost option that is yellow or plug-in for free effectively, which is always value. And then it has the third effect, which synergizes with everything. When you use an option card once per turn, you get to gain protection from bouncing back to hand or bottom decking until the end of opponent's turn with this card. So really, really great with it. So it can continue to stick on the board as long as possible, especially against certain matchups. This is the one that you always want to see. Then we got 2 copies of maid mode from BT10 right here, still being able to digivolve directly on top of your Talmons or Dolmons. Otherwise, you can actually digivolve for 2 costs on top of any level 6, which I mentioned earlier. You can continue to switch modes, which is kind of nice. We all know with this when attacking, which is his last effect, you can go into Sakuyamon for 1 cost instead as well, so kind of fancy. But aside from that, we'll continue to utilize as much when digivolving effects to play our option cards for free. Again, you can use your plugins or 5 costs or lower to control the board and get a lot of value off of it, which is always fantastic. But aside from that, after using the option card with maid mode, you get to recover it to the top of your security, almost like setting up a trap, which can be really handy against your opponents too. Speaking of Sakuyamon maid mode, you guys know we're going to be getting a Sakuyamon maid mode ace in the future LM set, which is coming real soon. I can't wait for that. But that's just not all. We're also potentially going to get a Sakuyamon X antibody in EX8. And if you guys want to see further updates for Sakuyamons and such, definitely be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and I appreciate the support. And if you want to see early deck lists, make sure to join the AVAULT Club, and I appreciate the support and thank you guys so much. But speaking of ace cards, since we don't have the maid mode ace at the moment, we have our own workarounds, and this is what I decided to come up with. Whereas our level 7, you can go ahead and play a spicy Sakuyamon burst mode ace in this deck. Synergizes great with this deck because you can just digivolve and blast against your opponents when you have a Sakuyamon on the board if it's ever in threat. Once you digivolve or on play it, you get to hard slap another Rika tamer, and then you get to DP reduce your opponent's Digimon off of it for every tamer you have, 5,000 each. Fantastic. And when attacking, you can basically suspend your Rikas to gain security +1. You can suspend up to 2 and go for 3 checks, which gives you the aggression the deck actually needs to push forward and even instantly win games, which is absolutely insane. Then since we're talking about Sakuyamon, I'm also running 1 copy of Ruin Mode, which is still an incredibly powerful card just to blanket DP reduce across your opponent's entire board, buy yourself an extra turn, and you can even win the next turn off of this effect alone, which is incredibly efficient. But if you guys don't have access to Sakuyamon Ruin Mode, just run another copy of Sakuyamon Ace, or you guys can add in any of the cards which I'll talk about in the tech choices later as well. But that's it for all of the Digimon. Let's talk about our Tamers now. Still playing 3 copies of EX2 Rika, which is incredibly important for this deck as you need to see it as much as possible and establish on the board as quickly as possible. It is a memory setter, but it lets you use your plugin options for free as long as you're attacking by suspending it with your Renamons, QB, and Tao, and Sakuya, and so on. Having multiple of these really help you continue to combo again and again and again. But we also got a brand new Rika to play with now. For 3 costs, it gains you a memory at the start and main phase as long as your opponent has a Digimon on the board. This one gives you the Biomerge capability. What you need is a Renamon on the board. And then with Renamon on the board, by tucking in a QBmon and a Taomon from your trash underneath it and this Rika, you can Digivolve into Sakuyamon for 4 costs, ignoring its Digivolution requirement. Like we all know, same with Takado, same with Henry, which we've seen before, being able to climb up all the way instantly and reuse your resources from the trash is always really great. But that's it for all of our Tamers. Now let's talk about option cards. The main key plugin option that we're playing in this deck is Digivolution Plugin S. This one just helps you climb up to your stack very effectively and incredibly fast. It does cost 2, but there's a lot of combos and synergies that you guys can utilize to Digivolve effectively for free. Not only that, you get to draw cards, search cards with its security as well, and that's the whole idea, to help you get into your level 6s instantly in a pinch. Then I'm also running 1 copy of Plugin A just for the offensive, to attack to gain security +1 and deal more damage, which is always what I like as well. Security effect is also just great. Continue to search and add it to your hand. Then for a bit more control and removal, playing 2 copies of the Pause Plugin P, which also helps you DP reduce -6000 further for effective removal. And if you don't remove that particular Digimon, you can actually prevent it from activating its when Digivolving effects for the whole turn. Aside from that, its security is a great bomb. Continue to further DP reduce, and you get to add it to your hand afterwards too, which is a great synergy card, especially when it comes with maid mode. Last but not least, I'm just playing 2 physical trainings as my searching option cards. You guys may have noticed and wonder why that we're not playing a lot of searching options in this deck is because we mainly play our renamons. We are continue to play our Cubimons to find our plugin options. The plugin S option is actually the key to help you Digivolve up into your stack instead of using physical trainings or any memory boost to help you gain that memory instead. And yeah, it's been working fantastic with this build so far. That's it for the main deck. Now let's talk about the tech cards and other choices that I've considered adding as well when building this deck. Aside from the other Cubimons, you can also run the older one from BT10, which gives you the when Digivolving to return an option card with plugin from your trash back to your hand, or you can trash a plugin option to draw 2 cards, which is also really effective cycling, but the only downside is it doesn't provide any inheritable for the deck. Since we're playing quite a handful of Tamers, Kazemon is also a great one, hybrid for game. You don't always get to suspend your Rikas, which is why then this card really comes in clutch to help you go for the finals attack if you ever need to. Other than that, there's also the older Sakuyamon from EX2, helps you unsuspend, helps you grab more option cards back from your trash, and you can continue to DP minus and rack it up against your opponents, which is always kind of nice. We can go for some fancy combos as well if you ever want to play alongside together. So same goes for Kuzuhamon. Kuzuhamon lets you play stuff from your sources, helps you go wide a little bit, establish a bigger board presence if you ever need to, and utilize any option cards for free when you go into it, which is always good too. Aside from other plugin options that I'm currently running, these are some other ones that you guys can also include, where of course is high speed plugin D, which gives you jamming, and unblockable, which can come in handy in certain matchups, but the whole reason is mainly to play it for jamming. I felt like I have barrier, I didn't really need to utilize as much, therefore I didn't include it in the end. That's the reason, but still a great one if you need to add it. If you need to play a bit more defensively, plugin C is also just as good because it gives you a blocker and reboot, and as well as most importantly protection against any opponent's deletion effects as well. But aside from just plugin options, there are some really spicy ones I always like to include and consider, and that is actually Blast Fire. Blast Fire is an option card that you can actually cheat out for free thanks to your Sakuyamons and so on by changing your opponent's Digimon DP straight into 3000 and synergizing with any of your DP reduction effects. You can instantly just remove anything off the board with this one single card. But of course, the only downside is that it doesn't have any security effects, it doesn't have security bombs, so you kind of rely on actually just hard drawing into this card sometimes, which is not as efficient as you think. But aside from that, Megalospark is also just as good. Being able to reduce its usage cost is kind of neat when you have a yellow tamer, but for that kind of cost, you still get to reduce an opponent's Digimon by 8000 DP, which has a lot of synergy as sort of disruptive and also comes in great value when you utilize it alongside with maid mode, because you can put it back in security and so on and set up your bombs that way, which are some other spicy choices that you guys can go for. Alright, combos and how to play this brand new Sakuyamon deck. When it comes to your opening hand with mulligans, you mainly want to be seeing your renamons as well as your Rikas and actually your Cubimons. That's mainly it. Mostly you prioritize on your renamons. You want to see multiple copies of different kinds. The more you have, the even better it is for you. And here's exactly why. So of course, you always hatch your egg. If you have multiple renamons, you want to prioritize using their on-play effects. This one, like I mentioned earlier, is the one that you ideally want to Digivolve in the back. But if you don't have any other ones, you might need to consider playing that outside. But otherwise, you're trying to build up your stack. Of course, you're going to your 4s and then you're trying to go into your 5s as you go up, but you're not trying to Digivolve hard all the way there, because at the same time, like I mentioned, you're playing these renamons to prioritize to help you find your plugin option cards, and that is when Digivolution plugin S comes in as a most crucial piece of your entire deck. Therefore, seeing multiple copies is always value for yourself. Now, as you're finding your pieces and so on, evaluate if you want to push out or if you want to just Digivolve outside the battle area, Digivolving into whatever Renamon you have. As long as you make sure that you have a Rika in your hand, you can Digivolve into the newer Cubimon right here, so that you can play either Rika, whichever you have. Ideally, it's going to be your memory setter if you can, because that will give you the best longevity when it comes to your attacking combos and so on. But if you Digivolve into this one, you continue to search for your plugin cards as well at the same time. Now, eventually, you're going to go into your Townmon. Now, just a quick classic combo. Once you set up your first Rika, you can go into your EX2 Townmon, which lets you play a second Rika as well. And like I mentioned before, seeing multiple Rikas is totally fine. Even though the memory setter might be redundant, having the secondary effect to rack up multiple again and again and again gives you constant value as long as you're attacking with it as well. But now let's talk about the combo of the newer Townmon. You go into this one, it straight up has barrier itself, so you can, when Digivolving, use an option. You ideally would use your plugin. You can use offensive plugin A if you want to, because with offensive plugin A, you can immediately swing 2 checks and you have barrier as well. You get to minus 2000 DP, whatever is in your inheritable, make sure to resolve those all at the same time. Now, as you're attacking, you can then also use your Rika, because then you can utilize this to play an S. With an S, you basically just go straight into a Sakuyamon for free. If it's not a Sakuyamon, you can go into maid mode as well. And by climbing that, you can then suspend another Rika to play another Digivolution option if you want to. By doing that, you can really rack this up, and instantly, sometimes you don't even need to Digivolve into Talmon to go into this combo. It can be a QBmon. If you have multiple Rikas, then immediately swing with a QB. You can suspend Rika, play S. By playing S, you go into Talmon. Talmon, when Digivolving, play A, or even play another S. But then you have multiple Rikas, you can play that and sequence this very, very effectively. And there you're just playing option, back to back for free with overloading. And when you go into Sakuyamon, that's when you can go for the 5-cost ones by playing plugin P, reduce 6k, Sakuya reduce another 6k. If your inheritables has multiple DP reductions, you can get rid of a 14k Digimon on the board, which is really nice. If not, if you go into maid mode, you have to use the same thing, and you get to put it back on the top of your security, and you get to attack. And basically that's how you kind of want to control the board and kind of climb up instantly, very, very quickly with this full-on combo. Pretty straightforward, but the whole idea is to make sure that you're sequencing your Digivolution plugins and all your other plugins effectively one another. Keep in mind, you can actually also use physical trainings off these effects, such as the Talmon when attacking, you get to use a 2 cost. It reduces it by 2. You can use any yellow stuff effectively, so you don't really need to find this card in the early stages. It's still just as good later because it can help you search, and being able to play this for free, great setup for you for game-winning combos as well. And this is the moment you continue to attack with Sakuyamon as much as possible. Sakuyamon is going to gain the protection from bouncing and returning to bottom deck as well, all at the same time. And you get to even switch between maid mode if you ever need to. You can go for 2 costs right here effectively, or if you Digivolve to maid mode to begin with, you can use this when attacking, go into Sakuya for 1 as well, or even just hard Digivolve for 1, and then continue to cycle. If you really feel the fanciness, you can go again and again on top of each other, continue to rack up more plugins and continue to do that, and basically win the game from there as you attack with these combos. Then if you're ever in doubt, as you climb up to this stack very, very quickly as you're level 6, then you can ever just go into Shine Greymon burst mode, Ace, to basically go for a very explosive turn, play another Rika if you have it, suspend also if you attack with the burst mode, suspend 2 Tamers effectively. And then with that, you can just go for a chunk of security checks out of nowhere. Otherwise, you can even go into ruin mode, stop down the game, and then as you build your second stack, when you're ready to go to come out, you do the same thing. You go into QBmon swing, save your plugin S for those situations, use Rika, play plugin S, go into another Talmon, and continue to go for the combos, and so on. Now, the final combo, just want to quickly show you guys, is that it's very, very nice to see where if you have a renamon, whether if you have it in the back or outside here already, all you need is just 1 memory Rika plus 1 regular Neo Rika from BT17. If your opponent has a Digimon, you start your memory at 4. By doing so, then you can immediately bio-merge as long as you have a QBmon or Talmon that you can utilize from the trash. So by putting it underneath with its main effect, you effectively pay 4 costs to go straight down to 0 into a Sakuyamon. And by going to Sakuyamon specifically, then you can do all those combos again, basically bio merge, and then you can just straight up attack if you need to, if the renamon was present in the prior turn, or if you just moved out from raising, and you get to continue those combos just like that, which is always nice to see. Once again, don't forget to get your Fox Blossom playmat on the AVAULT store right now. We got both 1 and 2 player versions available, and if you want to see this deck in action, make sure to watch this gameplay guide right here, right now. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. And this is AVAULT signing out.